All right, so moving on to the final segment, we're going to pivot over here to the world of wrestling inside the WWE world. And I'll be sharing my own personal list of the biggest WWE debuts in the company's history. So this is my own personal list. I have the debuts in no particular order or rankings. These are just my own personal favorite WWE debuts. So the first debut on my list would be Chris Jericho's debut to the WWE in 1999. Now, Chris Jericho debuted to the WWE when they were called the WWF back in 1999 on an episode of Monday Night Raw. When Chris Jericho debuted to the WWE, he was one of the hottest free agents in wrestling at the time. I mean, Chris Jericho was in the WCW to Eric Bischoff and a lot of others. Chris Jericho was a big fish, a small fish in a big pond, and never could be viewed as a world champion in the WCW due to the big names that they had of Hulk Hogan, the NWO, Goldberg, Sting, etc. So when Chris Jericho jumped ship to the WWE, he debuted bigger than anybody else ever could in the company, interrupting the great one, the People's Champion, The Rock. And when he interrupted The Rock, it was great because there was a mysterious countdown. Nobody knew what the hell was going on. When they seen Chris Jericho's name pop up on the big Tron, on the big screen in the arena, he got a huge pop. And he was viewed as a legitimate star after that, because you're going in there having a good promo battle with The Rock, one of the greatest on the ever touch a microphone inside of sports entertainment world, and you swam with them pretty well in the segment. So ever since then, Chris Jericho was viewed as a legitimate star and clearly put together a wrestling Hall of Fame resume. But it all started with his WWE debut back in 1999, interrupting the great one, The Rock, on an edition of Monday Night Raw. Now, next debut on my list would be John Cena's debut to the WWE in 2002. Now, in 2002, on an episode of Friday Night SmackDown, John Cena would debut and interrupt Kurt Angle and face Kurt Angle in a one-on-one match. And Kurt Angle asked one quality that John Cena possessed. And John Cena stood toe-to-toe with Kurt Angle in the middle of that ring and said ruthless aggression. Slapped the taste out of Kurt Angle's mouth. Took him down with a Luthez press, landed some right hands, and that's all she wrote. I mean, John Cena lost the one-on-one match to Kurt Angle in the end, but after that match, the segment that followed, John Cena was getting a lot of respect from the SmackDown, backstage from the SmackDown wrestlers, and even got the attention of who the WWE champion was at the time, of The Undertaker. And The Undertaker was pretty impressed from what he's seen from John Cena. Now, John Cena had to do some scratching, some soul-searching, to find out what was really going to work for him in his WWE run, because he nearly got fired at some point from 2003 to 2004, but the the cough, excuse me. The doctor of Thugonomics, John Cena, figured it out, and the rest was history. Became an all-time great, and it's crazy because his career is about to come to an end, but learning from John Cena, if you're a wrestler out there, one promo can change it all and help you get over and establish yourself to be an all-time great. And John Cena's debut, he laid the foundation for that back in 2002. Well, the next one was one of my favorite, and this one's a recent memory one. The debut of Kevin Owens to the main roster in WWE. Now, Kevin Owens made his main roster debut on an episode of Raw, interrupting John Cena, who was doing an open challenge for his United States Championship. Now, Kevin Owens, over the years, was a big indie star and is known for his time over in Ring of Honor. I think he had the name of Kevin Steen, but he had some great, incredible matches over there in Ring of Honor with Sami Zayn and etc. But he stood in the ring with John Cena, an all-time great, and looked like $1 million carrying that NXT championship. He didn't look out of place. He looked like he always belonged with the big dogs in the big leagues in the WWE. He never looked back. And he took out John Cena, hitting that pop-up power bomb, and looked like a badass, holding the NXT championship over a fallen John Cena and stepping over and crushing that United States championship. And that made Kevin Owens look strong. And a few weeks later, he defeated John Cena at his first pay-per-view event. So Kevin Owens never looked back, but that debut was badass and one of my favorite in recent memory when he debuted to the main roster. Next one, AJ Styles debuted to the company in 2016. Now, when AJ Styles debuted to the WWE, it was a surprise to some because AJ Styles used to be the face that ran TNA, the face of TNA, and known for his time and New Japan Pro Wrestling, putting up bangers with Shinsuke Nakamura being the ultimate king, the ultimate leader of the Bullet Club. But AJ Styles, when he came to the WWE, debuted during the 2016 Royal Rumble. He got a huge pop from the WWE Universe. You can tell the surprise look on Roman Reigns that sold the debut pretty well. And ever since, AJ Styles has been a big, phenomenal star in the WWE. I call AJ Styles the Shawn Michaels of this generation. You could line AJ Styles up with a broom and dustpan, and he could have a 5-star classic with a broom and dustpan. That's how good AJ Styles is in the ring. And I would say AJ Styles had one of the biggest rookie years in WWE history, because he went on to have a big marquee match against Chris Jericho at WrestleMania. Had a big feud with the big dog Roman Reigns for the WWE title. Had an incredible feud in the rivalry of the year with himself and John Cena. Feuded with Dean Ambrose. Was a part of that big Survivor Series 5-on-5 SmackDown vs. Raw match. Became WWE champion. I mean, he had a phenomenal rookie year. AJ Styles' debut has to be one of the strongest in the company's history. Next debut, Brock Lesnar's debut to the company. Now, in 2002, when Brock Lesnar debuted with Paul Heyman by his side, he was viewed as the next big thing. I mean, you have one of the greatest managers of all time, Paul Heyman, advocating you to be the next big thing. Brock Lesnar was a chiseled beast when he debuted to the company in 2002. Attacked several superstars on an edition of Raw that were having a hardcore match, but Brock Lesnar destroyed them all. I mean, Brock Lesnar had a huge rookie year as well. One of the strongest rookie years in WWE history. They made him look like a true, legitimate star very early on. I mean, he defeated The Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, Rob Van Dam, the Hardy Boys, The Rock to become the WWE champion at SummerSlam. I mean, Brock Lesnar just had a huge, significant year in the calendar year 2002, and never looked back. Definitely one of the best debuts in history. Next, the debut of Bill Goldberg. Now, I'm not the biggest Goldberg fan, honestly, but his debut in 2003 was badass. And he debuted at the Raw after WrestleMania that year, where The Rock was gloating and bragging about his WrestleMania victory over Stone Cold Steve Austin. And there was some video packages of Goldberg coming to the WWE, but The Rock wasn't believing it. But once Goldberg's music hit, and once The Rock seen Goldberg coming down to the ring, The Rock sold it well. He was terrified, and Goldberg told The Rock, "You're next," and speared the soul out of The Rock. I mean, The Rock sold that picture-perfect spear perfectly and never looked back since. And Goldberg went on to defeat The Rock at the upcoming pay-per-view at the time, Backlash, a marquee star that had a huge undefeated streak at WCW, finally debuted to WWE a few years after WCW went out of business. That debut for Goldberg looked pretty significant and was an all-time great debut to the WWE. Got two more for you guys. Oh, now this one, if I had a ranking, this one would be the greatest of all time. Next debut would be Kane's debut to the WWE. Now, honestly, I think Kane's debut was the greatest debut in WWE history. I mean, the storyline back in the late 90s was built perfectly for Kane's debut. They built it up for months perfectly. The story was The Undertaker was responsible for the fire that scarred his brother Kane at their funeral home that they lived in. And Paul Bearer warned The Undertaker for months. He was sending warning signs for months. But during the first ever Hell in a Cell match back in 1997 at Bad Blood, that pay-per-view between The Undertaker and the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, which is still, in my opinion, the greatest Hell in a Cell match of all time, to put on a banger. And just when The Undertaker was closing out the Heartbreak Kid, the lights went out, the music hit, and Kane made his debut with Paul Bearer, The Undertaker's right-hand man. And then Kane just came in looking like a badass. I mean, he unhinged the Hell in a Cell door, broke into this Hell in a Cell, stood toe-to-toe with his half-brother, The Undertaker, and then ultimately took out The Undertaker. Hit a tombstone pile driver on The Undertaker, costed The Undertaker the match, and Shawn Michaels picked up the scraps, pinned The Undertaker for a 1-2-3 count, and won the first ever Hell in a Cell match. That made Kane look like a legit badass, and he became one of the biggest monsters in WWE history with that historic debut, taking out the dead man, The Undertaker, in the first ever Hell in a Cell match to put himself over. Perfect debut there. Last but not least, The Shield's debut. I think The Shield's debut when members of Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins all broke into the scene at Survivor Series 2012 was one of the biggest debuts in WWE history, because it changed wrestling and the landscape of wrestling forever. I mean, 3 NXT stars formed together to create one faction, the Shield, and from 2012 to 2014, they dominated the main roster. They collected championship gold, the United States title, the tag team titles. I mean, they went undefeated for a year plus, taking out some of the biggest names that the WWE main roster had to offer. I'm talking about the Brothers of Destruction, Kane and The Undertaker, Daniel Bryan, John Cena, Ryback, CM Punk. The list goes on and on of how many big names that the Shield dismantled on their quest to being one of the greatest factions in WWE history. Can you ever forget their run against the Wyatt family? Their feud against the Wyatt family, I should say. Their feud against Evolution. I mean, this debut changed the game, and especially at Survivor Series when they costed Ryback and John Cena the WWE title, helped CM Punk retain the title. But they went so long going undefeated and collected championship titles. Then all three of them became the biggest names that wrestling has to offer today. Dean Ambrose did his thing in the WWE. Now, as Jon Moxley, one of the biggest stars that AEW has ever seen. Roman Reigns just had one of the biggest historic runs in WWE history with himself in the Bloodline, that historic world title run. Seth Rollins is an architect, has been picture perfect ever since being his own man, his own guy. So I think how important the Shield debut truly was, you have to say that's one of the biggest debuts of WWE history based off the term events, how special that group was, the impact that they made when they made their debut to the main roster, what they have accomplished together, what they've accomplished separately. That night put the Shield, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose in a different atmosphere and a different level in terms of how you make a huge impact in your debut to the biggest company that wrestling has to offer in the WWE. But that is all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. This is your host, Thomas Tyree, signing off. And I'll see you guys on next week's episode.